Hello Facebook. Izzy V here from Legion DX Sydney, and I'm sitting here with Catherine from New South Wales Hen Rescue. This is going to be what we hope will be the first of a series of live videos that we're going to try and do once a week around different topics and things to do with animal rights, veganism.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
we'll have some company such as Kim here.
So we're hoping the live feed will go okay. You know how these things can be a little bit random sometimes, and working with animals is like working with children. So today what we thought we would talk about is something that New South Wales Hen Rescue comes across quite a lot, and that's hatching projects. So Catherine, do you want to go through that?
So at the moment at the Hen Rescue, and I expect this is the same for Sanctuaries across New South Wales and Australia, we are inundated with messages and emails from people who are desperate for help rehoming roosters and hens, but mostly roosters. And the reason for this is because all of those chicks from the Easter hatching projects are growing up, and of course half of them are starting to crow because they're boys, and there's no plan for that. So we can't offer help with the rehoming really, because we're in a residential area, we've got close neighbours here, so we can't take in roosters. So instead we're going to try and address the root cause of the problem and have a look at why this society thinks it's okay to keep bringing animals into the world that there's no plan for.
Yeah, and I think what seems to be a big issue, especially with hatching projects, is, and probably with good intentions, I'm going to be diplomatic here and say schools and teachers probably want the children to experience, you know, how an animal is born or how chickens are born, and they want to show them kindness and compassion. But the hatching projects actually are the complete opposite of that, because like you said, underneath all of that you're supporting this industry that views animals as a commodity. So
yeah, it really encourages from that young age where we see children have this innate compassion built into them, where they just want to nurture animals and they have that kind of innocence. Who have we got? Are you being preened?
I'm being preened.
Yeah, so they have that kind of innocence, and it's just the beginning of getting rid of that, and society conditioning them to treat animals as disposable. And I think I agree with you that it's not a purposeful thing. Like, the teachers aren't going into it thinking that they want to be responsible for the deaths of chickens or to treat animals as disposable, but that is what happens, and that is the lesson that gets taught. Because when the chicks are only with them, so they go back to the company when they're still chicks.
Yeah. So how does it actually work? Where does it start? Let's say I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
And I decide I want to do this with my class.
Yeah.
It's a hatching project company, isn't it? That kind of markets this idea, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So there's companies, it's actually franchises, like Henny Penny has franchises across several states. And what happens is the school or aged care facility pays a fee. They bring in an incubator with fertilised eggs, and the class or facility, or whoever's in there, the patients, if it's an aged care facility, they then watch over the course of a week or so the chicks or ducklings hatch. And that's really the course of the project, because then then they will see the baby animals,
which for kids would be an amazing experience in one way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can see why it's seen as that. But there's so many problems with it. There really are. Like, I mean, we've got this. One of the reasons we're doing this today, we've launched this fact sheet on hatching projects here, which is downloadable from henrescue.org/hatching projects, and this is suitable to give to teachers or even to other parents. And it tells you really what's going on with hatching projects. So first of all, something that many teachers and parents may not be aware of is that hatching projects directly support factory farms. This is because all of those fertilised eggs are bought from commercial farms. So the parent chickens, who are often not thought about, are kept in packed barns, and when they are no longer as fertile, or they run into any, they get to the age, I think it's a couple of years or 18 months, they are sent to slaughter in the same way as spent hens. which is an absolutely terrifying process.
Definitely. And are these the same hatcheries that, I mean, all hatcheries macerate male chicks as well, don't they? So that would be a secondary part to that, is that right?
It's the same place. The difference is that these eggs go whilst they're fertilised eggs.
Yeah.
So the ones that go into the egg industry, yes, they'll then go to the point where the females are put into the egg industry and the males are either ground up alive or suffocated or gassed to death at a day old. The fertilised eggs, well, we don't know whether they're males or females yet.
Of course, that's right.
Yeah.
Which leads to the second problem in the hatching projects is that sometimes teachers or at the nursing home, and this was a circumstance that happened recently with one of our members. It was a nursing home where her grandmother was. They decided to do a hatching project there. And they thought, we'll just rehome them. But like you said, when you've got male roosters to rehome, well, they don't know at this stage whether they are or not, and you can't have them in suburban areas. So there's another element, another issue as well.
It becomes a huge issue because the hatching, so the companies will take the chicks back, that's part of it. That's kind of what they offer, but they will only take them back at the end of the project. So if you then wait until the roosters start to crow, they won't, that's not their responsibility anymore. Now,
how convenient.
Yes, how convenient. If you do decide, and we urge, if you are running a hatching project already, please don't give them back to the company. They will be killed. So they'll say on the website that they go back to hobby farms. Now, hobby farms, we can't say exactly where these so-called hobby farms are, but we do know that a lot of roosters are going to these places. They will kill at least some of them, and the others will be exploited in farming systems. So that's a death sentence for the little chicks. So I think a lot of schools do realise that, and they don't feel comfortable with it, especially when they've seen these adorable little chicks and the children just love them.
Well, and they've started connecting with them as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
And sometimes the parents, I imagine, can feel confronted, like you said, confronted by it, want to do the right thing, try to rehome them.
Yes, because it's that like natural compassion that parents have too, and like the mothers and fathers of children, they see these beautiful baby animals who have grown up unnaturally without their mother hen, and as humans, we do still want to help those babies. So a lot of parents and family members feel this pressure to adopt the animals, which sounds like a good thing. And in some cases it may work out. However, in most cases the parents haven't thought through or haven't given a chance to think through the care of hens and especially the care of roosters. So they may not have a proper predator-proof area. They may not have a suitable space for the very young animals that they have at that time. And certainly when it gets to this time, like after the Easter hatching project, several months later, then they start to crow. There's no plan for the roosters. So on our sheet here, we've got this heading, dumped chickens and broken hearts. Because even if you manage to rehome the chickens, firstly, there's the children. The children will have bonded with the chickens. They can have beautiful relationships with animals, including chickens. So when the animals are then rehomed, it can be heartbreaking for the children. And if they're taught that that's normal to give them away and to get rid of them, we're teaching them that life is not really worth respecting and that chickens and animals are disposable.
Yeah. And a lot of my programs that I do, I work as a teacher's aide with young male offenders and special needs kids. And I often talk to them about that in some of my programs when I do adopt, don't shop workshops. It's amazing how many kids think, you just go to the shop, you buy an animal, and when you don't want it anymore, it just goes away. So these hatching projects inadvertently feed that idea.
Yeah, it really starts it off as these lovely young people who may not think like that yet. It's showing them that it's okay to give them away. And if you take roosters to the RSPCA, they will be put down.
Yeah.
The RSPCA have limited resources to take roosters, and it's not an area they're really putting money into. So they're very honest about it. If you call them, they will put them down. The same with vets. Most vets, some will put an effort to rehome them. If you give them to a farm, it's very common for them to be killed.
And like you said, they go back into that farming system, which...
More roosters, and it goes on and on if they get bred from.
Yeah.
Now, when we say broken hearts, we're not just talking about the children. We're talking about the hens and the roosters. In many cases, people will just rehome the roosters, and the hens will remain at the family home. The bond that forms between chicks growing up together is so strong, like siblings.
Of course.
And they can be heartbroken, and they can even become ill from the stress of leaving. I had a beautiful little hen called Henny. I didn't name her, but I think it suits her anyway. And Henny came, she was rehomed to... It was actually a very different... Normally they're rehoming the roosters. In this case, they were rehoming Henny and keeping the rooster. And she cried when she got to my place. She missed her rooster so much. And I hate to think what he was going through as well. So rehoming just the boys on their own, it has its own problems.
Sure.
It's something we really have to think about. There's also... It's not just that... You know what? It doesn't teach children much of a good lesson, because we're showing them a chick growing up in an incubator without their mother.
That's right.
One of the beautiful things about a real relationship with a mother hen and a chick is that she starts talking and clucking to that chick when the chick's still in the shell of the egg. And she turns them, and she... You know, you've seen the image of the hen with all the chicks under her wings and
which
protecting
is a beautiful image.
Oh,
it's
and
an absolutely beautiful
I mean,
image.
it's where that mother hen image comes from, isn't it?
Of course.
So, yeah. And without that, what are kids really learning? I think it's more of a... I mean, what are they? What do you think that they're learning from this?
Again, I think it's something that started out with good intentions, and they're trying to show a cycle of life, I guess. But you can show that. We did a project in one of the schools I worked in where we grew beans in a cup to show how things grow, and how if you nurture something and give it water and soil, or what, it's the same kind of concept.
Yes.
You don't need to use animals to show that.
Yeah.
There are other ways that you can do that.
And I think the other thing is that as lovely as children want to be with animals, and whilst there may be some supervision from teachers, they can be rough by accident when they're very young. And the same for elderly people who may not be like mentally as fit as they once were. That can be a danger for the little chicks as well, because they're so delicate.
I think so.
Age.
And I think there are just other means which the fact sheet will show, and which you can... We've got Google now. You can Google anything, you know, or even look at other sites like Edgar's Mission, who have other ideas and other ways that you can stimulate your class and teach all your classes these different things, or a nursing home. So there are other options there where we don't have to continue using animals to entertain, really, is kind of what it's doing.
And so the other thing about them, I think, and this is... I mean, animals in schools in general, there is the idea that sometimes maybe a school could adopt rescued hens. And of course that would be a lot better. But I would say that firstly, the first thing that pops into my head is what happens when the school is closed. There's a preschool up in Putney that... on a really hot day, I happened to be driving past, and the hens were all just locked in the coop over the weekend, and there was nowhere to dust bathe to cool off. I think they were let out in the week, but on the weekend, it was really not very suitable. What's your feeling about animals in schools?
Look, having worked in schools for many years, again, the intention might be good, but they're not exactly the right environment. You know, you've got large amounts of kids in sometimes a small area. It's quite loud as well. One school I was at the other week did have hens there, but they hadn't done enough predator proofing. They weren't aware at the time, you know, to do that. And there were foxes in the area, and the foxes came into the school and they got some of the hens, which then led to this other problem of the local council then being notified of foxes in the area and them laying baits and things like. So it ended up having this sort of chain ball effect in the community as well. So, but I don't necessarily think they are the right environment.
And certainly this idea that seems to have become synonymous with early learning centres and chickens. I don't know that was a good thing to be started, and whilst I think encouraging lessons of respect for animals is essential, like you said, there's so many other ways to do that. I mean, on our fact sheet here I've written some of the things. Now, first of all, you already mentioned Google and YouTube. I mean, seriously, just search chicks hatching, and there's so many videos of chicks hatching. There's videos of mother hens and her chicks, of roosters protecting chicks, of mother hens trying to mother other animals. Their instincts to mother are so strong. So some beautiful videos that would be very suitable for a young class.
Definitely.
And then we've got, there's also a kit. If you want to show the full development of the egg, there's a kit from, what's it called? Modern Teaching Aids, and we've got the link on our fact sheet, and it comes with these eggs, these fake little eggs, and you open them up each day over 21 days, and you see the development of this little model chick, and at the end there's a fluffy chick for the class. So it's a really sweet way, maybe combined with watching a video with the real chicks, to educate the class about that process, but without exploiting any animals.
That's right. And it's just thinking outside the box a little bit as well, which again, with all these alternatives that we've got, it isn't really that difficult to do, and doesn't harm animals. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a farm sanctuary near the school. It's certainly, like, we can't speak on behalf of all farm sanctuaries because they're not all open to the public and young children, but certainly worth reaching out to farm sanctuaries in the area to see if they'd be open to doing a tour. Maybe they have some animals that are more confident around children that would be suitable for them to meet on that day.
Definitely. And we've even, at the Juvie Centre I've worked at, we've had some sanctuaries come in and do talks at the centre as well. Peanuts Funny Farm came in and did a program with our boys. And look, they don't always bring animals because obviously, again, it depends what sort of animals they have and how the environment that they're putting them in. But even having someone there speaking about the experience of working in a sanctuary and being able to share those first-hand stories is a lot more effective and again, doesn't harm any animals. So.
Yeah, definitely. And there's also the option, especially for primary school children, of doing a class trip somewhere where they can see birds in the wild.
Definitely.
I mean, like, say there was a class in Woy Woy, for example. When I used to live around there, I'd go to the waterfront, and the amount of birds I'd see in half an hour. It would be so fun for the children to go and see and try and spot different birds, and it would teach them more because it would teach them about real life.
That's exactly right.
So that could be a nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also some great live videos now. Like, if you go on to Farm Sanctuaries, I think it's called, let me see, if you go to explore.org/livecams, you can see Farm Sanctuaries live videos. So if we went on there right now, they probably have highlights of the day because it would be nighttime in America.
Yeah.
But you would see, if you go on in the evening here, you can see what's happening in the turkey barn, where the chickens are too. You can see the sheep. It's so lovely. And there's all kinds of animals on there, different parts of the world. So that's another really fun thing for children to see.
Yeah, and again, they're seeing them in more of a natural environment than in a school ground as well.
Yes.
And they're seeing them being cared for properly in a proper manner and in a respectful manner as well.
Yeah.
Which I think the hatching projects take away.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the other thing, with animals in school in general, one thing they hardly ever think about is a vet bill budget. With the chick hatching projects, they probably would just give them back, which isn't a very good lesson. But with sick chickens, if they have them as adults, surprisingly a lot of vet bills, especially because they may have been bred to lay too many eggs. So that's something most schools don't have a budget for. We've certainly been contacted before when schools are not willing to pay a vet bill. So that's something else to consider. But the situation right now that we have is everybody contacting us who already have these chickens. So maybe we should talk a bit about what to do if, hopefully we can stop hatching projects in the future. But what about if people find themselves right now in the situation?
Yeah, well, I think we've gone through some of that on the fact sheet as well, but I think it would help people don't want to know that what they're doing is harming animals, essentially. So I think if people can approach their school, the P&C club at the school, maybe share this fact sheet with them as well, discuss it with other parents. I mean, you're all wanting the best for your children's learning at your school, and obviously when you look into this a little bit further, it's not doing that.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of what they can do now,
I think it's probably trying to secure safe homes, isn't it? So it's hard. It's not easy to... The sanctuaries that take roosters are inundated.
full.
It's... we get contacted every day. They get contacted multiple times a day. They do a huge amount. If there is no option but to use a sanctuary, please consider doing a fundraiser for that sanctuary.
Definitely.
Get the kids together of the class, show them that there's some that this responsibility doesn't end when you give away animals. Try and organise the transport yourself or amongst parents to the sanctuary, and try to organise feed and a fundraiser, maybe a vegan bake sale or something at the school.
Yeah. Maybe even sponsor the care of the hens or the roosters for a year, and make that a school project itself.
Yes.
Because again, taking that responsibility as well, and maybe even admitting to the kids, this is something that we've learnt now doesn't exactly work in the best interest of the animals, but we're going to take responsibility for that.
And it could be a great project for kids, doing pictures of the animals grown up. They could write their feelings about it. They could make artwork. I think it could be a really lovely thing for them to do if you're already in that situation, and they could learn something from it. First of all, before the sanctuaries, do try and rehome within the community and the parents, but let them know there's a 50-50 chance of roosters and have a plan for that.
Definitely.
There probably aren't that many people who can take them. We've got hen care information at henrescue.org/hencare. So have a look at that. Even though it's about battery hens, it is relevant to all chickens, like predator proofing, feed, things like that. So hopefully that'll be useful to them. But most of all, just try and get this information into the hands of the decision makers, so that hopefully there won't be a hatching project next time.
Definitely. And I think keep in mind, like we were saying, you want the best education for your children, and one of the best things to teach them is kindness and compassion for all beings.
Yeah.
And if hatching projects aren't doing that, then they really shouldn't be part of your children's learning or in their school. So yeah.
Well, if you have any comments or questions, please leave below the video. You can also leave ideas for other things you want to chat to us about in coming weeks. We will hopefully see you about this time next week. We'll let you know. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support. I'm getting preened now by Rosemary. Rosemary is the gentlest preener. Aren't you, darling? Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. Bye.